Hi, this is Sitima Fowler, CEO of Capstone. I am here today with Phil Yawman, VP and General Manager at Frontier, Rochester's market. And Rochester is one of the biggest market for Frontier, so Phil has a huge role to play. So congratulations, Phil. You are a Rochester rock star.
Thank you very much. It's good to be here.
Yes, absolutely. One of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, Phil, and it's probably in the minds of a lot of people watching, is traditionally we think of Frontier as the landline provider. Like, I have a landline by Frontier at home, and often, my family, we talk about, okay, we're using our cell phones all the time. Nobody really calls us on our phone. Should we get rid of it? So coming into an industry where it's traditionally, it's not growing, if anything, it's evolving. How do you come into a market like that and grow Frontier?
Yeah. Well, first of all, Frontier is a total communication services company, and we do voice communications, we do data communications, and we're actually also in the equipment business. And the world is clearly moving from voice communication to data communication. And just a quick example of that would be, in your office where you used to pick up the phone and reach out to somebody and make a quick phone call. Today, you're more likely to shoot them a quick email. And the email will travel over a data network, whereas a phone call would have traveled over a voice network. And those two networks used to run separate. Today, they've all come together and converged onto a single platform. And we're focused on delivering a total communication solution to meet the needs of all of our customers.
And I think that's a really good point, because there's so many business owners I meet with that say their business is not doing well because the market they're in isn't doing well, or the economy isn't doing well. And I think it's neat to hear you say, okay, the market is changing, and that's not under our control, neither is the economy. So what can we do to innovate and provide more value for our clients, right?
Exactly. And I think, ultimately you need to understand the changing needs and requirements of your customers and develop solutions to meet those needs. And those solutions will vary by segment, be it the residential segment or the small business segment or the enterprise level segment in terms of what those requirements are. But we're very focused on delivering a simplified product set that is easy to understand, that's priced competitively, and delivers a solution to that residential household or business that meets their communications needs.
Okay, fantastic. The next thing I want to get into is, used to be the VP of commercial sales at Frontier, and you have a very good success track record. So tell me a little bit about sales. How does a business owner grow their sales?
Well, I think truly effective, sustained sales success is really part science and it's part art. And I think the science aspect of a winning sales organization is having people that know your product, know the needs of the customers, and are able to articulate what that particular product or solution that your company has and how it meets the needs or can advance the mission of the business that you're selling to. So that's the science piece of it. I think the art piece of it is in the relationship building that goes into how salespeople earn the trust, respect of their customer base. And that takes time, and it is something that is earned and is more individual to that particular sales rep. But you have to have both within your sales organization and down to each individual rep, I think, to be sustainably successful.
That is so key. So I think what I'm hearing you say is, okay, so the salespeople have to form that relationship, that whole rapport with the prospect, and then once you have done that, you have to show the prospect how you're going to help them achieve their business goals through your product and service.
That's right, and be able to articulate what your product does for them to get them to their business goals. And that is also how you earn trust. You earn trust as being an expert in the product and solution that you have, and really getting to know and understand the needs of the business that you're selling to, or the customer that you're selling to, and then working with them side by side. And in our business, technology and the way in which people are communicating is constantly changing. So the solution that you may deliver to a customer today, and their needs 6 months from now are different. So you need to stay in regular contact and communication with them and be out in front of what their changing requirements are going to be, so that your solution is always appropriate for where their business is headed.
Okay, perfect. Now, one of the things that we sometimes struggle with is those of us that don't have a sales background necessarily is, and even if we do, but now growing it beyond our own self and creating a sales organization. So I personally have hired salespeople that I haven't been able to make successful in my organization. So how do you hire the right people? How the salespeople who can build those relationships and build that trust and rapport and be successful in the job?
Well, I think that starts with getting the mindset that recruiting salespeople is an ongoing, regular part of your business and what you do day in and day out. And is not something that you sort of have to do when you have an opening. So if you're constantly out there with your eyes open looking for qualified sales candidates, qualified people to bring into your organization, that's where it starts. I think you always want to be very, very clear and honest with yourself in terms of the type of organization that you are, the critical success factors of a particular sales resource in your company, and they could be different depending on the nature of your business. You also want to be mindful and self-aware of the culture of your organization. And then when you go out and you recruit, I think you need to assess both their technical sales skills, but also their cultural fit. And the way that you do that is to get to know each of your candidates before you make the hire in ways that perhaps extend beyond the 30-minute interview, because it's an important decision. And I think if you find folks that are the right cultural fit and have the right skill set for your organization in terms of what you're trying to accomplish, that's ultimately how you will have not only successful folks, but people that stay with you for a long period of time and grow with you.
That's great advice. So basically, whenever I'm networking, whenever I'm out to dinner, meeting people, I mean, always keep an eye out for good candidates that could potentially be a good fit for your company.
Yeah, I try and encourage my sales managers to meet with a potential sales candidate for their team once a week. Even if they don't have any openings, just to build a pipeline of folks. And in those meetings, you may network and connect with other folks, or in those meetings where you're sort of talking about your business with someone from the outside, you may in fact get an idea, or it triggers an idea that can help you advance your organization and your company, regardless of whether or not that ultimately results in a hire.
Can I get the stack of the resumes that you guys have already met and didn't hire? Okay, so as a business owner, what are some key metrics businesses should look at? What are some key metrics do you look at?
So as GM of this market, I have full P&L responsibility, so I'm looking at revenue, expense, and cash flow, and all the sort of traditional metrics of an income statement. I also look at unit growth in the context of what we sell, and that's high-speed internet connections, data connections. So I'll pay attention to changes in market share as well. When you get into the sales piece of the business, which is what we've been spending most of our time here today talking about, you look at what does a sales rep's pipeline look like, how many appointments are they setting, how many proposals have they made, what's their close ratio, ultimately what their sales results are relative to the quota that they've been assigned. So in the sales world, every month you have a scorecard, and the metrics are pretty clear because you have very discrete, defined sales quotas, and you measure against each of those. And if someone is not hitting their quota but has a lot of the right behaviors and activities up front, then that tells me that it's probably just a matter of some time before they get to a point where they're consistently hitting their quota. If someone has hit or exceeded their quota but has a very, very bare pipeline and funnel, and there doesn't have a lot of activity in the front end, that's an indication to me that these results are probably not sustainable.
How long does it take in general, on average, for a salesperson to start meeting their quota?
Depends on the segment of the market they're selling into and the nature of the products that they're selling into. That can be anywhere from a month or two at the lower end of the market, or the small business segment of the market, to anywhere from 3 to 6 months if you're moving up into the more enterprise segment where you have longer sales cycles and a more sophisticated product set that you need to get down the curve on. So it does depend on each individual company and the nature of their sales cycle. For us, it's anywhere from 0 to 6 months.
So after 6 months, if the salesperson still isn't meeting quota and is telling you all these reasons why, it's probably not working out, or do you think that that's 6 months, by that time they should be producing something?
Yeah, I think, I think in 6 months' time you ought to have a real good picture of that, but you ought to be, if there are issues, they should have been manifesting themselves well in advance of 6 months. And it's a sales manager's job to work with that particular rep to get them the skill sets and the training that they need, to focus them on activity if that's where it's lacking. If they're not having the right kind of conversation or asking the right kind of question, to do ride-alongs and to nurture them and give them every chance to be successful. And I think that's one of the things that a lot of people that have a high rate of churn in their sales organization don't do enough of, in terms of investing. Once they've hired and put them through whatever sort of formal training is taking place, they again kind of just throw the rep out to the wolves with no additional sort of ongoing follow-up. And I think there's some danger in that, in the sense that a resource that may be worth investing some additional time and effort in to get them up to speed may ultimately get frustrated. And to me, when those things happen, that's really a sales manager's accountability, less so the rep.
Yeah, and I think that's really important point there that I want to underscore, is that a lot of business owners, they will hire salespeople, give them the phone book and say, good luck, And at like Capstone, we actually have a 90-day training program. With the first 90 days, we don't even expect the salesperson to go out and sell. I mean, it's all training and learning our culture and our way, and reading books and things like that. So I think that's important, the training, and you set them up to succeed. So one last question I have for you. So do you have a person in Rochester who you admire, do you have a mentor?
Yes, I would answer that sort of in two ways. The people in Rochester that I admire the most are my parents, and always have and always will, for everything that they've done for me. But I've also, throughout my career, been the beneficiary of having great mentors along the way, from a high school basketball coach to a college professor to managers early on in my career to partners that I've had throughout my own professional career and development. And so I'm a huge believer in the value of mentoring relationships and having people that you aspire to be more like and that can learn from along the way. I also think that it's important for your own growth and development that you seek out mentors and take it upon yourself to advocate for yourself. And oftentimes, if you go to somebody that you see as someone that you want to be mentored by, and you have that conversation with them, you'll be pleasantly surprised at how warm of a reception you get to that, and how flattering and humbled the person that you're asking to be a mentor to is willing to do so.
So don't be scared to reach out to somebody that you really admire.
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
Fantastic. So I'm so glad that you took the time to give us all these insights, and anybody watching, this has been invaluable, because I think you bring an air of innovation and success, and even though you can't complain that I'm in a market that, you're in a market that is traditionally changing, and you're evolving, and not just saying sorry, we're tanking because of the economy or the market or whatever. And I like when people don't put excuses in front of their success. So that's admirable.
Yeah, change is opportunity, and I live by the notion that life is 10% what happens and 90% how you deal with it. So
Wonderful. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for this interview. Do you have any last words of advice for other entrepreneurs?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I enjoyed being with you. And,
Sure.
Last advice, I think, for entrepreneurs, I think it's important that you know what really motivates you, and oftentimes it's not money. And I think once you know what really motivates you, you have to commit to your passion, be persistent, be aggressive, and go after it with a lack of fear of failure. And a lot of times, the shots that you take and miss enable you to make the next shot that you take, and the ones that you make are the ones that you ultimately remember.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. And thank you for watching. If you want to be a Rochester Rockstar candidate for an interview like this, go to www.rochesterrockstars.com and hope to meet you.